In 1955, when living in Mexico City, Jack Kerouac wrote a series of poems called Mexico City Blues. It was his statement of how he viewed life, and it was heavily influenced by his Buddhism, which he had been studying off and on since the late 40s. But as you'll see, one of these choruses reveals something about his concept of Buddhism that shows that it's actually betrayed by his childhood Catholicism, and that is the 211th chorus. He sets this poem up, describing the wheel of karma. Now, in Buddhist philosophy, of course, the spirit comes back into the body several times over millennia because it has to pay off its karmic debt. Everything that anybody does, says, thinks, or doesn't do, doesn't think, and doesn't say, all those things create vibrations that go out in the universe, and they bounce off everything in the universe and come back to us, and we have to pay that karmic debt. Consequently, we have to be reborn over and over and over again. Well, this is how he describes it at the beginning of the 211th chorus. I'll just read the first two lines here. The wheel of the quivering meat conception turns in the void, expelling human beings. Now think of his language there. He's talking about this birth and rebirth, and he calls it the quivering meat conception. It starts calling to mind the idea that maybe bodies are just meat puppets animated by spirit. And there's a certain revulsion he has here, a certain rejection of it that he has. And we're turning in the void, it's turning in the void, expelling us. We are expelled the same way that feces are expelled, or anything that is refuse is expelled. That's our bodies in his conception. However, let's continue in this poem, and you'll see he enlarges this concept to include all of life. He says, pigs, turtles, frogs, insects, nits, mice, lice, lizards, rats, roan racing horses, poxy bucolic pig ticks, horrible unnameable lice of vultures, murderous attacking dog armies of Africa, rhinos roaming in the jungle, vast boars and huge gigantic bull elephants, rams, eagles, condors, poons, and porcupines and bills, all the endless conception of living beings. He puts everything in there in this wheel, and of course it is, but look at what he focuses on a lot of times. It's not just a tick that lives on a pig, it's poxy bucolic pig ticks. It's horrible unnameable lies. Every horrible thing he can think of is also included in there. And his language here shows that he is absolutely revolted by this. It's unmistakable that he finds all of life a little bit gross and a little bit scary and really cruel. He continues saying that this endless conception of living beings is gnashing everywhere in consciousness throughout the 10 directions of space, occupying all the quarters in and out, from super microscopic nobug to huge galaxy light-year bowel illuminating the sky of one mind. Of course, all of these vibrations, these karmic vibrations that are set up by us, are also set up by the pig ticks and the lice and all the horrible things out there that are gnashing at each other. You just see them showing their teeth. And of course, life does work by things eating other things. All of that sends all that karma out into the universe in his mind, and it's like we're taking up all the space in an almost infinite universe with this consciousness. And he winds up saying, poor, with an exclamation point. Now that's kind of weird. We don't use poor that way. It could mean poor me, poor us. It could mean what a poor concept, what a poor system. We don't know what he means by this, but he says, poor. I wish I was free of that slaving meat wheel and safe in heaven dead. Now, he sees this as slaving. This return is meat over and over. And the only way that he can see to get out of it is to die and go to heaven. That's not how Buddhists would get out of it. Buddhists would get out of it by nurturing a non-attachment to what happens. Good things happen and bad things happen, and ultimately the idea in Buddhism is to not be affected by it. It just is things that happens, and we are immersed in illusion. So it really doesn't matter what happens. We just get to where we are as non-attached as possible, and then we stop being affected by karma. So where a Zen master might say about enlightenment, you know, before enlightenment, chop wood and carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood and carry water. You go ahead with your life as if it mattered, even though you know it's an illusion, unaffected by what happens, and that gives you the chance to get off the wheel. The only way Jack can get off is to die and go to heaven, and that is where his childhood Catholicism infects all of his Buddhism. In the Dharma Bums, there's a character who is the scholar and poet, Gary Snyder, and he and Jack's character are arguing about Buddhism, and Jack keeps saying, I'm bothered, you know, there's a tar paper shack in the Midwest that catches fire, and all the kids and even the kitty dies in the fire. How horrible. And at that point, Gary Snyder's character says, you know what, you are a Roman Catholic and you will be until the day you die. And it turns out he was absolutely right. And I think the 211th chorus shows that.